Okay, lesson 13, practice problems. We're going to be looking at expressions with rational numbers. Here we are. We're just going to find the value of each of these. This is easy peasy stuff, wouldn't you say? Okay. Oh, we've got addition, subtraction, multiplication, multiplication, division. Perfect. One of each. Okay, and we've got all the same integers. How fun. Okay, so first we're going to have negative 22 plus 5. So it's addition problem. We say the signs are the same, find the sum. But they're not in this one. Signs are different, find the difference. That's what we're doing right now, finding the difference. So that means we find the absolute value of both of these numbers. The absolute value of negative 22, in other words, how far away from 0 is it? It's 22. Absolute value of 5 is 5. I'm finding the difference, so it means I'm going to subtract 22 minus 5. Well, 20 minus 5 is 15. 2 more than that would be 17. And then I take the sign of the larger absolute value. Well, this is the larger absolute value, and the sign is negative. So the first one is negative 17. The next one, I've got a subtraction problem. I get to cha-cha-cha. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Oh, that's so fun always. Oh, wait a minute, look at this. Now it's negative 22 plus positive 5. That's exactly what this is. Well, I already know the answer to that is still negative 17. That was fun. Okay, next we're going to be multiplying. I've got negative 22 times negative 5. Okay, I always, when I multiply certain numbers, I like to, think about it like money. So if I had 20 times 5, that of course would be 100. 20 times 5. Remember, this is also using the distributive property. If you didn't forget about that, I hope, from the last unit. So 20 times 5 is 100, and 2 times 5 is 10. So I add those together, so I know that my answer is going to be 110. Now I just have to decide if it's positive or negative. Well, there's 2 negative signs. That's an even number of negative signs. So that means my answer has to be positive 110. I'm going to divide for my next one. So I'm just going to, I love to, divide left to right, top to bottom. So let's do this. 22 divided by 5. Well, that tiny little 5 is too little to hold up that big, giant 22. How many times does 5 go into 22? Well, I know that 5 times 4 is 20, so that goes into it 4 times, with 2 left over. And that, of course, is 2/5. How many negative signs do I have? I only have 1. So that means it's going to be, my answer is going to be negative 4 2/5. Fun stuff. Next, the value of x is negative 1/4. Order these expressions from least to greatest. Well, before I can order them, I need to find out what each of them is equal to. So the first one is simple enough. It's just x, so that, of course, is negative 1/4. This next one is 1. Now be careful here because we've got multiple negatives. So take your time and copy out every single part. 1 minus, and then x is negative 1/4. Now, if you weren't careful, I'm betting that you just did 1 minus 1/4. But you need to carry both, negative signs through. And now we get to do the cha-cha-cha. So we stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. So that means it's 1 plus 1/4, which is simply 1 1/4. Awesome. Next, I've got negative 1/4 minus 1. Okay, stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. I've got an addition problem now, So I've got the signs are the same, find the sum. So now I'm finding the sum of both of those. I'm looking at their absolute values. Absolute value of negative 1/4 is 1/4. Absolute value of negative 1 is 1. 1/4 plus 1 is 1 1/4. Both of these were negative to begin with, though, so my final answer is negative 1 1/4. My last one I have is negative 1 divided by negative 1/4. Ah, math Macarena. Yay! Put this over 1. Keep the first. Flip the second. Now you multiply. Keep the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom. So 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. I can reduce that to just 4. 2 negatives. That means I've got a positive. So now I've got negative 1/4, positive 1 1/4, negative 1 1/4, and positive 4. And I need to put these in order from the least to the greatest. Well, as far as the least go, I know I've got 2 numbers that are negative. So those are obviously going to be smaller than the positive numbers. When I look at both of those negative numbers, I know the further to the left on my number line, so in other words, if I had a number line, and here was 0, and here was 1, well, I know that my negative 1/4 would probably go somewhere about here. And I know my negative 1 1/4 will be somewhere about here. So I know that the smaller number is always furthest to the left on my number line. So that would mean that the smallest number, or the least number, would be right here. I'm going to label that as 1, because that's my smallest. Whoa, I put that in the wrong spot. Get myself all excited about stuff. Oh my goodness. So the smallest one is right here. That's number 1. The second one, in order from least to greatest, would be this one, my negative 1/4. And now I've got both my positive numbers. Which one of the two is smaller? Well, I've got 1 1/4 and 4. So obviously this one would be next, my 1 1/4. And then the positive 4 would be the largest number. Now it says order these expressions. And this is a place where a lot of people get confused. You need to, when you order these, go back to the original expressions to write them in the correct order. You can't use the numeric values that you substituted in and ultimately found. So that means when I put them in order, I'm going to use those numeric expressions. So my first one right here would be x minus 1. Next would be the second one, which is x. Next one would be third one right here is 1 minus x. And then the only one I have left over here is negative 1 divided by x. There you go. There's our answer from least to greatest. That was fun.